Mary is a single woman in her early 50s. She lives alone, has a cat named Bosworth, and takes care of her mother Edna on the weekends. She has no kids and was married for 5 years before divorcing her husband, who had an affair with another woman and is expecting his child. Both her ex-husband and the new wife die in a car crash, leaving behind their 5-year-old and a newborn. Mary is oblivious to their death as she is focused on her mother, who fell into some financial trouble. Edna is a retired teacher living on her own. She has 2 children, Mary and Rebecca. When Edna gave birth, the father was nowhere to be found. He had split just before the birth and has not been heard of since. Growing concern for her mother's financial well-being, Mary contacts the Golden Finance firm for help. Their mission statement seems promising, so she gives them a call and sets up an appointment with a nice gentleman named Adam Foley for the following Sunday afternoon. The work week pursues, with Monday's routine being the slowest. Mary makes her morning coffee and says hello to the gate operator at Humble Grove Psychiatric Hospital. Lays out the week's activities for her patients, denies her coworker's request for dinner Friday, and then heads home. Tuesday, she meets with her longest patient of 20 years. This patient has been suffering from delusions of having a friend named Rosie. On Wednesday, Mary meets with a new patient who smuggled in a butter knife to the hospital. Some staff members were injured in this event. Thursday, Mary decides to open up a dating app, thinking that a guy could be a good distraction from everyday life. Friday approaches and Mary's long-term patient becomes very hysterical and commits suicide by jumping out a 10-story hospital window, leaving behind a note saying that she had to go with Rosie. Ending the week with a major storm, Mary heads home, hydroplaning off the road. A little startled, she walks through her front door and pours herself a glass of red wine. Saturday is spent cleaning her apartment, picking up pet food, and a little therapy shopping for herself. Finally, Sunday morning arrives. Mary picks Edna up, and the two have a late breakfast before heading to their meeting with Adam Foley. Once they are through with breakfast, Mary drives through the professional and inviting entrance of the Golden Financial Firm parking lot. They are then greeted by Adam. Mary did have some concerns on why her mother's bank accounts were suddenly getting low in funds, and Edna assured her that her mortgage was getting too much to handle. Adam gives Mary a reassuring look that everything will be taken care of and that her mother is in good hands. The rest of their meeting goes great, and they set up a future appointment to further their professional relationship. Sunday evening, Mary drops Edna off at home and stops by a convenience store for more wine. She walks through the store, walks past a gentleman in a nicely dressed suit looking through the hard liquor section. She notices the store isn't too busy, so she takes her time when a hooded gentleman enters the store. After the convenience store, Mary picks up takeout and returns home. She places her phone and purse on the counter and calls out to Bosworth. He is chilling in his cat tree, unfazed that Mary is in the same room. She then pours herself a glass of red wine, walks over to the sofa, and decides to look through the dating app. She finds Charlie, and the two seem to hit it off immediately. They chat through the app's chat box for hours before saying goodnight. More work weeks go by, and nightly conversations with Charlie seem like a promising romance when they finally agree to meet in person. The date was set for Monday morning before Mary goes into work. The day arrives, and Mary's excited for her date with Charlie. She arrives at the coffee shop, sits in the booth in the back, and waits, and waits, and waits. At this point, she is 2 coffees in and has waited well over an hour. A comment from a young woman that noticed Mary sitting suggests that she has been ghosted. Mary agrees, picks up her things, and heads home. Confused and a little hurt on why Charlie was a no-show, she decides to uninstall the dating app to avoid getting hurt again. Not being able to shake her feelings, she decides to head to her mother's house for some reasonable assurance that Charlie is not the guy for her. Her mother seems distant, distraught, and hasn't said a single word to ease Mary's pain from being stood up. Getting increasingly annoyed, Mary storms out of her mother's house without saying goodbye. Slamming the door behind her, Mary hastily makes her way down the long stairwell and out onto the street, walking into an oncoming motorcyclist. She finally walks through her front door, sets her belongings down on the counter, and calls out for Bosworth. She finds it odd he hasn't been responding to her, but she fills his water and food bowl and starts her nightly routine. Pours red wine, watches a bit of TV, and gets ready for bed. She walks past a full-length wall mirror in the hall. It goes unnoticed that Mary's reflection is non-existent. What happened to Mary?